Right. So again, if even if I missed out some bits from the conceptual framework, I will bring them back into this discussion when I try and go through some of the standards. So let's again, hopefully the whole idea is to make these short. IAS 1, very much the first one. Again, some of the big areas there that are relevant to us are really this idea of ensuring that an organization or business carries on as a going concern, and so just looking for assessing indicators, so in terms of lack of cash and cash equivalents, major debt repayments in the next 12 months, increased levels of overdraft. Those are the sorts of things we're looking for. Short-term borrowings, and any disclosures or provisions relating to material legal claims. IAS 1 gives us some more advice on materiality and aggregation. So the real issue here is that we're coming back to the conceptual framework: relevance, faithful representation, materiality, and aggregation. So this issue of will the omission and misstatement influence the users? We should show material claims, classes of items, forgive me, separately, and immaterial items may be aggregated with amounts of a similar nature. But we want to make things as clear as possible. Offsetting only where permitted. So you might see questions where they've offset certain positive and negative material provision, so the net materiality actually feels immaterial, but you then need to think about separating it out based on IAS 1, referring back to the conceptual framework in terms of faithful representation. IAS 1 then gives us IAS 1 also gives us some advice on the statement of changes in equity, that we should really be seeing issues that to do with the issue of shares, dividends, movements in reserves, if you like, going on over there. Then of course we have this issue of the other comprehensive income, which I mentioned. Again, it's important. So the IAS 1 is very clear that the only items that can be reclassified to the profit and loss, as you can imagine. So whole idea is we've put something in the statement of other comprehensive income. We move along. So the only things that can be recycled to the profit and loss in subsequent periods move along the periods. Forex gains and losses, if you like, on the translation of foreign operations, which we'll see when I go back to IAS 21. Effective parts of cash flow hedges. So these are scenarios where we are in effect waiting on carrying out a final transaction. So in the meantime, whilst we're hedging, again, this is all post-study, right? So you must have studied hedging and done the work. Whilst we're waiting, in the meantime, in effect, we are recognizing those changes in other comprehensive income until the final actual transaction, because that's what a cash flow hedge is. It's really hedging for a future transaction, in effect, isn't it? But if you have a situation where you have a positive, where the hedge exceeds the actual item, then you may recognize that straight away. Then also we have remeasurement of investment in debt instruments. So IFRS 9 gives us guidance, very good guidance on how we deal with debt, especially as a debt investment. So where you have the yes, because here you have you make the assumption that you are either holding it to sell off later on to make a profit. So you can remeasure, when you remeasure that investment, you can recognize the movement into the profit or loss. What cannot be classified, you know this already from time immemorial, revaluations. They will go straight from other comprehensive income when you do realize into retained earnings. Remeasurement components in the defined benefit plans. I mean, you can just see there is just no relationship to the income statement if you now put that in after many years. It's just not relevant. And remeasurement of investment in equity that you have designated as other comprehensive income. Again, here it's a question of relevance. You cannot reclassify it. So again, this is IFRS 9. You have equity. Typically, you're recognizing equity at fair value through profit or loss, but we do have scenarios where you might be recognizing it through fair value or comprehensive income because you intend on holding it for a while. Maybe it's a little investment that you guys have in a small limited company. So any changes really, in effect, shouldn't be coming into the income statement. So that's IAS 1. The criticisms, again, really criticisms. There is still a lot of confusion. The notion of reclassifying gains and losses is still relatively unclear. It's not very clear, but I mean, we try and be rational and make good judgment. Reclassification from OCI and P&L results in profit and losses recorded in different periods, which is an issue. And that's something that people are still discussing. But the key point here is the fact that you don't have that. There is still a lack of clarity on transferring or reclassifying gains and losses um, from OCI to P&L or OCI straight to retained earnings. It does seem is still a criticism of the standard. Cool, great stuff. We'll end it there.